What's going on, everybody? Hope you've had a fantastic Thursday. This is NYGJeffyT85 here, and this isn't really going to be a video just about stats. This isn't going to be a video about numbers. This isn't going to be a video about, recapping this or recapping that. This is just going to come from the fan in me. And for anybody that watched my BKN game recap last night, the one thing that has aggravated me about this Brooklyn Nets team, especially, is that they don't know how at times to finish bad teams. It's the one thing about this Nets team that they don't know how to do on a consistent basis is finish off bad teams. Last night, the Nets had a lead in the game, a sizable lead. And they almost ended up losing that game because they didn't know how to finish off that team. And you're talking about a Charlotte Hornets team that at the time was 7-17 on the season, without a couple of their best players on the court. And the Nets struggled with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Nicholas Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Cam Thomas, all these guys. They struggled with all these players on the court to finish off the lowly Charlotte Hornets. Why does this team make it always so difficult? I really want to know why. You're playing against one of the worst teams in the NBA. You have them down by an extremely sizable lead going into the middle of the third quarter. Finish them off. How are you allowing a team that you're that much better than still have to find a way to get back in that game? I just really want to know. The Nets had no business on allowing that game to be as close as it was. The Nets had that game in the hands all the way from the first half into the middle of the third quarter. And I understand if they're playing against teams like Boston, against Phoenix, against Golden State, Denver, Indiana even, Milwaukee, Cleveland, New Orleans. Some of the better teams in the NBA. But Charlotte? Really? I'll take the win like I said last night. But at the same time, this is becoming a really bad trend with this basketball team. The fact that they have so much trouble at times finishing off bad teams. Because if you do this against a better team in the NBA, they're going to finish you off. I just don't understand why this team just has such lapses on the court. And I can't blame the head coach. He's doing everything he does. His head coaching hasn't been perfect. But he's not playing on the basketball court. You can be a great coach and execute great plays and put your team in the best position on the basketball court to win. But it's up to the players to execute those plays that you put out there for them. The Nets defense has been not good at times this year. It's been better lately since Jacque Vaughn has taken over. But it's still having those lapses where it's giving up way too many points. And you could point to, Ben Simmons not being there. You could point to Yuta Watanabe not being there. And the good news is that Ben Simmons will be back on Friday, but Watanabe is still out with that hamstring injury. But at the same time, the Nets have got to start doing a better job finishing off teams that they are clearly better than. Because if you keep allowing these poor teams to come back into this game, or teams that are better than a Charlotte Hornets, they will end up surprising you, and they will leave you in the rearview mirror. Apologize, I have a cold right now. That game really frustrated me. It's unbelievable that a win in a game frustrated me more than even some losses. Because of the fact that this team still has immense lapses of offense and defense on the court. They sometimes become over-aggressive. They sometimes don't become not aggressive enough. They're not good at times with their rotations. They're still getting destroyed behind the three-point line. They're still giving up high percentages. They're fouling way too much. They're committing too many turnovers at times. It's mind-boggling sometimes with this basketball team, how talented they are, and yet they struggle sometimes with the most simplest of concepts on the court. We're not going to be able to win these basketball games consistently if you're turning the ball over too much, if you're giving up big leads in the fourth quarter, if you're not holding these lower teams down to below 100 points, which the Nets were doing when Jacques Vaughn first took over. The fouls are really starting to get on my nerves. Every single second this team is committing 1 million fouls. This team has got to do better. Because we are this close from being back at 500. And like I said last night, you can thank your two superstars for the reason why this team is 2 games over 500, heading into a very, very tough 2-game stretch against the Hawks tomorrow and against the Pacers on Saturday. The Nets have got to start doing a better job in terms of team basketball. Because that game last night was really frustrating to watch. Really frustrating to listen to. Really frustrating to watch the film and the tape on. Because there was no business on why this team gave up that type of lead. And you could say I'm maybe like going overboard a little bit of it. Maybe I'm getting too carried away with it. But this could become a problem as the season winds down. And the problem with the Nets, too, is they're still not getting enough consistent play from the rest of their team, minus Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Last night, Seth Curry, who did nothing the past 3 games, exploded for 20 points. You can't have these inconsistent games where you're going to have Seth Curry pretty much not score for 4 or 5 games and then just all of a sudden explode for double digits. Same thing with Joe Harris. Same thing with Royce O'Neal. Same thing with Cam Thomas. Same thing with Edmund Sumner. Same thing with TJ Warren. The only guys not named Durant and Irving so far this year have been Nicholas Claxton and Yuta Watanabe. And Watanabe has been injured for a good part of the season. Claxton I can't get on as much. He just has to stop committing so many fouls. And he has to be a better free throw shooter. Those are the 2 critiques I have of Claxton. You got to become a better free throw shooter, and you got to stop committing fouls. But the rest of this team, you want to make it easier on your superstars and lighten the load on them. How about you guys go out there and contribute more on a consistent basis instead of, like this game I'm going to do really well, then next game I'm going to suck. This team has got to become more consistent overall as a team and finish off games. Because if you played this type of game that you did last night against even an Atlanta or an Indiana team, they will beat you. Because Charlotte was this close to beating us last night. And like I said, they won the game last night, but in reality, was it really that great of a win? On the schedule, you'd be like, okay, it's a W. But in reality, is it a great W? Because of the fact this team struggled to beat a horrendous team in the Charlotte Hornets who are missing a couple of their better players? I just want to see this team play more consistent basketball. That's what I want. Because if this team really wants to be considered a team that could do something in the playoffs, they can't have performances like they did last night. When you have a bad team you're playing against and you're beating them consistently, put them away. Finish them off. Don't give them an opportunity to come back in these games. And that's how you could define a team that's a potential playoff team that could make a run and potentially win a championship. This is not a rant. This is not a game recap. This is not a numbers video. or a stats video. This is just a Nets fan talking about how he wants to see his team go out there and play with a little bit more consistency on a night in and night out basis, and not put the entire workload on your two superstars every single night. And when you're playing against a poor team, finish them off. Don't give them even a slight opportunity to come back in these games, because they will beat you. And I really hope that game against Charlotte was another wake-up call for this basketball team. I really do. Because this team has got to start playing better basketball throughout the season. Otherwise, it's going to be game, set, match. And we're going to be going nowhere again in the playoffs, even if we make it. Now, right now, the Nets are the 4th seed in the NBA. With a game against Atlanta and Indiana, 2 teams that are right behind them and right ahead of them. Go out there and beat them. And beat them pretty convincingly. And we'll go from there. I just want to see a consistent basketball team on a night in and night out basis. That's all I ask for. That's it. Give me a consistent NBA basketball team. Show me a team that has 2 superstars on it with a solid bench, because this team is way more talented than the way they're playing. And maybe chemistry is still starting to be worked out. Maybe that's the problem. The chemistry on this team is still not where it needs to be. But this basketball team has got to start doing better on the fundamental things, offensively and defensively. Because I don't want to see this team have another one of these seasons where it's just a lot of hope, and it ends up just becoming that at the end, hope. And it becomes another downright awful ending to another high potential season. So I just had to get that off my chest as a Nets fan. If you guys want to like this video, hit the like button below. Sub up to NYGJeffyT85. Breaking news, chatter, updates around the Nets, Brooklyn Nets. Turn on the bell for notifications of the next video or short surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. And let me know in the comment section if you have the same sentiments that I do. If you think I'm being too critical. If they think I'm jumping the ship a little bit too much. If you're agreeing with what I have to say. Let me know in the comment section how you feel. And I'll make sure I give a suitable reply and an honest one to every single one of you guys. Because last night was very disturbing to me. Even in a win. Imagine what it'll be like if we end up losing that type of game. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Take it easy as always. And let's go, Brooklyn Nets. It's a Nets world. And guess what? We all just live in it.